Why won't they just use secure passwords, use a password manager, use unique passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, stop clicking on links, write secure code? The list goes on, right? Many of us in cybersecurity want to positively influence behaviours. I often hear from CISOs and security leaders who are confused and frustrated. They're telling people what to do and they're wondering, why aren't they doing it? The truth is that behavioural change generally involves a lot more than simply telling people what they should do. And thankfully, there are experts in behaviour that can help us understand and move forward with positively influencing people's security practices. In this video, I'm going to look at two behaviour models that we often use in the human side of cybersecurity. I'm going to cover BJ Fogg and Susan Michie's models, and I'm going to explain how we can understand them, how we can understand how to use them and apply them. And I'm also going to cover when we shouldn't be trying to change individual behaviour. This video is the second of a 4-part series where I'm running through the different areas of cybersecurity culture as I define it. The first video was on awareness, so make sure you catch up with that if you missed it, and stay tuned to this channel for videos in the coming weeks on values and perceptions. When planning and delivering and analysing cybersecurity culture change programs, there are two behaviour models that are particularly helpful. BJ Fogg's BMAP model stresses the importance of motivation, ability and prompts when you're trying to bring about behaviour change. According to BJ Fogg, if a behaviour is lacking, then one of these key areas is missing. People might not understand why they should practice a certain behaviour. They may not feel incentivized, and so their motivation is lacking. Someone may lack the ability to change their behavior, for example, through inadequate training or friction when it comes to practicing secure behaviors. They may not have the right tools, the right guidance to practice that behavior. Or people might simply need a prompt, a trigger at the right time and in the right way to encourage them to change their behavior. So here we can think about nudge theory, and I could go off on a tangent about that. I'm going to stick to the topic of the video, but if you would like a video on nudge theory, let me know. Moving on to our next behaviour model, we have Susan Michie's COM-B. This suggests that capability, opportunity, and motivation are the drivers of behaviours. So we can think of capability as the knowledge and skills that people have. If we think about a password manager, do they know why that's a good idea and why it's less risky than reusing passwords or putting them on post-it notes under their keyboard in the office? For opportunity, we can think about whether people have the time to practice a new behaviour and whether the norms and the practices of people around them support that. So sticking with the password manager example, do they have the time in their day-to-day to get to grips with understanding how it works? Do they have to set it up themselves and try and navigate that? And are the people around them changing their behaviour, or is everybody sticking with the old ways of trying to manage passwords themselves? Finally, for motivation, we can look at whether it aligns with their values and their principles, and is this new behaviour something that can become a habit? So with the password manager example, do they believe that cybersecurity is important? Is that a value in the organisation? And I'll talk more about values in a future video. Do people understand the importance of passwords? Do they feel motivated to manage secure passwords? And is the password manager something that can be easily integrated into their day-to-day? Have they had support and guidance with that? For example, surgeries to help them set up the password manager, day-to-day guidance so they can troubleshoot any issues as they come across them. I cover this in more detail in the Cygenta Guide to Cybersecurity Culture, and I go into more depth around that scenario of a password manager and how the behaviour models can help us in different ways to navigate behaviour change with our colleagues. So do check that guide out if you would like to dig in a little bit deeper. There's a link below and it's freely available for anybody to read. So behaviour models can be very helpful, but it's important to understand that we shouldn't always be focusing on changing individual behaviour. People will often engage in workarounds, bypassing security policy when that security policy is seen as unrealistic, as too onerous, as causing too much friction, or when it's seen as competing with the priorities of the wider organisation. For example, if an organisation values productivity very highly, say that's built into people's job descriptions, maybe even their performance reviews, then if security practices are seen as taking too much time, then they're competing with that wider objective, that wider value of productivity, and so they're more likely to be bypassed. In these cases, it might actually be more appropriate to look at streamlining some of the processes, at consulting with different parts of the business to find a way forward, or even changing the policy. This last point reminds us that awareness and behaviour are not the only areas of security culture we need to think about. We also need to look at values and perceptions, and I'll be tackling those topics in the next 2 videos in this series. Make sure you watch this space so that you don't miss them.